Hey, how's everyone feeling today? Me? I feel like talking about some anime. So today's topic is going to be about suffering. Hey, I know I'm starting off the video kind of bleak, but hang in there with me while I'm going to be comparing the two characters that suffered the most in anime, at least currently, in like the modern day anime, who suffered the most. So let's go ahead and get this video started. If you do like the video, I'm gonna need you guys to go Kaioken times 20 for me and hit that like button. All right, let's get this. Alright, so characters that suffered in anime. Now, I know I can probably insert a lot of different characters in today's topic. There's certainly been some characters with the saddest backstories I've ever seen in anime. Go ahead and cue that sad violin music. You know, characters like that was forced to live alone without friends, some characters that lost a loved one, or maybe even betrayed by someone they were really close to them. What? Scratch that. We're talking about really, really heavy stuff. You know, the stuff that gets you that shock factor when you first watch it, that type of stuff. So whenever you mention the subject of suffering in anime, many people automatically think of Guts from Berserk. Yes, my guy had a hard time for real. And I'm not even downplaying what he's been through. I mean, his parents died, watching his best friend being tortured, seeing what happened to his girlfriend. And speaking on what happened to his girlfriend, this is going to be extremely hard to talk about because I'm not sure exactly what YouTube will let me talk about without being insta-deleted. You know, I actually had to Google certain words and certain topics, to make sure I could actually say it. Side note, that's a negative. I can't really say what I want to say. Second side note, while I was searching for this shit, I had to put this in incognito mode because my wife also used my computer and I don't want to explain this. Alright, so moving on. So, from the simple fact that I can't really talk or describe what's happening to certain characters, and I even triple checked with other YouTubers that talked about this type of anime, I couldn't really find anyone that really, went into details about what happened to the main character. So I'm going to be using vague, colorful details to explain what happened to these main characters, which YouTube may strike me down, but fuck it, no one really watches my videos anyway, so I don't really have much to lose. So here we go. And if you haven't guessed by now, there will be spoilers. They're bound to happen when you talk about this kind of stuff. So the first person I want to start comparing is Kiowa from Redo of Healer. The gist of his backstory is that he starts out as an innocent healer, but as the years goes on and he finds out that he's being used and abused and mistreated, and then afterwards he wants to take revenge out on everyone that had a hand at messing him up. So let's get to the suffering part of Kiowa. Kiowa suffered a lot of abuse throughout the years, and not just physical abuse, but mental abuse as well. As a healer, every time he healed someone, he would also relive that person's dramatic life and feel the same emotions and pain that person was feeling after he gets done healing. This caused him to lose touch in reality, and he would have panic attacks on a daily basis. There's no clear numbers on how many people he healed, or at least I couldn't find it, but it was definitely enough to break him mentally. And that's just a small taste of what he had to go through during the same time his companions, or I guess you want to call them companions, more like his captors, I guess you would call them that got him addicted to those drugs. And while he's on this drug, he loses all sense of his self-worth and basically becomes a lapdog and does whatever they tell him to do. So there's a reason why they're keeping him strung out on drugs, because Kiowa has another special power. How do I say this? He has like a special fluid that would strengthen anyone who consumes it. So occasionally men or women would, how do I say this? I guess like tickle them to tears or something like that. Well, okay, all right, I'm stop beating around the bush. They sexually harass this man or sexually assault this man. And they would sexually assault this man for years just to get this special power that, Kiowa had. And I don't know how long this torturing went on for. It could have been a couple of years. I believe it was, because he states that it took him a year just to get over the drug addiction by consuming some herbs to fight against the drug. So when you take that in consideration and then realize that after going through all this, he restarted the timeline and went back into the past, but he kept the knowledge of everything that happened to him. And with this knowledge, he does everything all over again, but he formulates a plan to get back at everyone that wronged him that was in the future. So the second time around, he isn't tortured as long because he finds a way to escape his captors and also takes his first step at revenge. So let's go ahead and sum up everything. For years, he's forced to heal people, and when he heals them, he's also traumatized by that. Essentially, it starts to break his mind. He also becomes a slave to a drug that makes him easier to control. Then he's forcibly, or he's sexually assaulted for these years as well. And they also forget to mention that they basically beat the crap out of him whenever they didn't like how he acted or like his face or something. They would basically just beat the crap out of him. So yeah, it was kind of hard on Kiowa, and that was not a pun. This next one is kind of complicated for me just because there's so many different versions of it that I haven't seen yet, and the story has many different paths. If you're not paying attention, you may get confused on what's actually going on. Well, that might just be me. I might just be slow. I don't know. But we're going to go ahead and talk about the latest version of Higurashi When They Cry, and we're talking about Rika. Now, to sum up Rika's story, and again, there will be spoilers. There's bound to be spoilers when I talk about this type of stuff. Rika's stuck in this town called Higurashi. This town is plagued by this disease called the Hanamizawa syndrome. Essentially, whenever you have this disease, your body becomes possessed by some type of parasite. And in order to trigger this parasite and progress the Hanamizawa syndrome more, the victim has to go through some high levels of stress. Once the syndrome activates, the victim becomes paranoid, develops anxiety, deranged, homicidal. They will even feel the parasite underneath their skin and start scratching at their body or their neck to try to get rid of the parasite. Now to sum up Rika's story, she has lived in this town for a long time because she possesses this ability to be revived at certain points of her life when she dies, and she was granted this power by some goddess. So Rika has been reliving horrific events of someone being possessed by the Hanamizawa syndrome, and then they end up killing her. But there's a catch. When Rika is revived, she doesn't remember what happened or the events that led up to her death, and another wrench into her suffering. Do you see these two? You see their friendship? Yeah, turns out it's toxic. You wouldn't know just by looking at this. So this is Satoko. She is the best friend of Rika, and she's kind of obsessed with her. She also possesses the same powers Rika has whenever she dies, but whenever she dies, she obtains all of her memories after her death. The reason this information is important is Satoko is the reason Rika is stuck in this loop in this specific time frame.
This takes me back. I really did miss it.
Yeah, me too.
Now then, let's begin. I learned my lesson. I won't fall for any of your lies next time.
What? Next time?
So good tidings to you, my dear traitorous Rika.
Let me speed this up. Rika wants to leave Higurashi because of the Hanamizawa curse and to live out her dream of attending the sophisticated school. And Satoko wants her and Rika to stay because she knows Rika's dream will take her away from Satoko. So now the suffering part. During this time, Rika has been killed by drowning, having her head chopped off, set on fire, her head smashed. If you can think it, it probably happened to Rika. Hell, she's even had her stomach cut out and had her intestines pulled out. Rika has been repeating the same timeline for a century, not knowing that Satoko is the reason she's been trapped in this loop. Now, I said everything has happened to Rika, but there's one key difference in the torture that Rika and Kiowa has suffered. I'm sure you guys can guess what it is. Now, it's obvious to say both these characters got it pretty bad. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. But from these two, who do you think got it the worst? I shared my opinion, now I want to hear yours. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching, and take care.